Welcome to the actor side today. Well, he's won numerous awards for his work in films and television, and now stars in Belfast, directed by Kenneth Branagh. And guess what? He was born in Belfast, so this is a role tailor-made for Jamie Dornan. Welcome, Jamie.
Thanks, Pete. Thank you.
You were indeed born in Belfast. Is
I
that right?
was, yeah. I was born and bred and buttered in Belfast, yeah. It's so it's not every day you're expecting a script to land in your inbox. It's literally called your hometown of birth, you know. So very unique experience. I've shot stuff set in Belfast. I've played characters from Belfast and different things, but
You played
yeah,
a serial killer
that's
in
right in Belfast.
the
Yeah,
Falls,
the fall.
actually,
Yeah,
the
that's all.
award-winning role there, and that was Belfast too.
That was all Belfast, yeah. And at the time, I mean, it was successful, that show, for many reasons, but I think it was refreshing for people that there was something set in Belfast that wasn't directly involving the Troubles. You
Yeah.
know, like it wasn't like a joyful story. Obviously, I'm a serial killer. It's dark content, but people were pleased that it wasn't just all about this conflict that raged on for 30 years. And I think similarly with Belfast, while the beginnings of the conflict are a part of it, certainly, it's very much about the family and how normal family are affected by that. And I think, again, that's sort of a different lens on that part of the world. And I think certainly people from home appreciate that.
Yeah. Now, you were born after the period depicted in this film,
Yep.
obviously, 1969. But what part of that can you relate to having, come from Belfast?
Yeah, I mean, I was born in 1982, so I was born 13 years into a 30-year conflict, so kind of bang in the middle of it. And it probably only later in life did I start to look into the sort of and gain an understanding of the origins of it. You know, I grew up in a world where it was just happening. It was in the throes of it. There was a civil war on from when I was born to when I was 16, and then lived in a post-conflict society from there. And because it's just happening and you're so young, you're just taking it for granted. And it's not until you're older, there's been peace brought in 1998, that you're able to start looking back at it with, a bit of hindsight and age. And I was about to say wisdom. I definitely didn't have wisdom, but you want to sort of garner an understanding of why we ever got ourselves in that position. So, I've obviously done a lot of work on that, and I've discovered a lot through my own work with that, and particularly with this, and seeing it through the eyes of a 9-year-old boy and how that affected just like kids who didn't ask for it. They didn't ask to be wrapped up in any of this sort of mayhem. So that was an eye opener for me.
It's amazing. It's about family. This is really about family. It's also about being a father.
Yep.
You sadly actually lost your father earlier this year.
Yep.
I think due to COVID.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So this is the first movie that's come out, and it's interesting that you're playing a father, and it's dealing with a lot of that stuff you must be thinking about.
Constantly, yeah. It's crazy. This is such a personal movie, obviously to Ken, because it's based on his own true life story. But it's very personal to me, being from Belfast. Very personal to Kieran Hines, being from Belfast. Katrina being from Ireland, and close to Belfast. Little Jude Hill, who's from just outside Belfast. A lot of the cast, but also I've just a full lineage of Belfast men in my family. Often the women in my family were from the sort of countryside outside Belfast, but my dad was from Belfast, his dad was from Belfast, his father before him was from Belfast. So it's this long lineage of it,
Wow.
So the fact that this is the first thing that's come since my dad passed, and he was very proud and aware that I was doing this job with these caliber of personnel involved
Right.
as the filmmakers, and Judi Dench and the like. So it's at least we got that. At least it kills me that he doesn't get to see the finished product, and and particularly the early response we've had to it, and to have been there. We did a screening of it in Belfast, last week, and obviously he missed all that, but I'm appreciative that at least he knew it was happening, and he knew it was in good hands, and it would have been an important story to my dad too. You know, this is very much part of his history. He was 21 in 1969 when the conflict kicked off, and he was a medical student living right in the heart of West Belfast, where the main sort of epicenter of all the trouble was, and so it would have been a very interesting watch for him.
What was the reaction in Belfast when you took the movie back there?
Thankfully positive, you know.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't have been good.
Mate, it would be, Jesus, I mean, we just care so much what the people of Belfast think about it, you know. We have taken this film to different parts of the world, starting with just Ken and I at Telluride back in September, and Tiff, and right off the bat, you know, we got great response and people said lovely things, including yourself, and we've been riding that wave and it's been beautiful. But the screening that we really cared about was the one in Belfast, you know. Yeah. There's no industry people there, you know, there's no like film people, there's no critics there. It's just normal, hardworking people from that place. Yeah. And we had them in mind the whole time we were making this thing. So for us to get a very strong, genuinely palpable, positive reaction out of that crowd was something else. It was genuinely one of the best nights of my life. After that, I was so anxious going into it. I couldn't talk. Not like me. I like the chat, but I'm always a wee bit nervous going into any of those situations.
Sure.
But that was a different thing. My wife just kept saying, like, "Are you okay?" Do I need to be worried about you? Because I had in my family round in my hotel room before I went out, and it was meant to be this sort of celebratory moment, and I couldn't speak. Like, I was just in a very quiet place, and I don't think I spoke for about 45 minutes until I was suddenly on the red carpet being asked questions about it. So I just couldn't relax until I knew that it was going down well, and it felt early on. I was like, oh no, people are into this, and it means so much. And the reaction after we get up in a big, huge show of appreciation and standing ovation and everything, I was like, okay, now we can relax, and then I could really relax and enjoy my night, and had a brilliant night. Yeah.
Do you watch yourself on screen and all of that, or?
I don't, you know, yes. I mean, listen, usually when I'm doing press, I'll have needed to see it once, right, at least, so I'll ask for a screener or something if it's not, you know, if it's not too much hassle, and I'll sometimes see an early cut of something if the press is coming early, long form press. With this, I've seen it more than I've seen anything else. I feel like Ken often will sit through and wants to get that, you know, initial true feedback from the audience. So particularly when it was just him and I at the beginning of this journey, when we're showing it to people, I didn't want to be the one, like, when he was going to sit through, of me going, I'm just going to go and have dinner somewhere. So I was like, I'm going to sit through these and get a sense of how the audience are responding. So I think I've sat through this 4 times, but I don't think I will again, because it won't get better than Belfast. It just won't. It can't. There's nowhere else we could show it that'll mean more, you know. So I think I'm done seeing it now. You know, the first time you see it too, Katrina and I watched it together in a small screening room in Belfast with Ken. Katrina and I were joking about this yesterday. I mean, the first time you watch it, you're just going like, why is my eye doing that? Like, is anyone else noticing my nose that shape? It's my voice really that it's had that, you know, sound to it. Do I consider another career path? I mean, that's honestly, you're just riddled with, you know, this self-doubt.
Aren't most actors like that?
Yeah, I believe they are. I think that's a real common sort of misunderstanding of, you obviously know because you're in this world, but I think people from the outside believe actors to all be crazy, confident people and like, you know, have real ownership of how they present themselves and talk and move and their posture. And I think it's really far from that, and that's why we end up, like, you know, spending our lives and careers hiding into these other characters that we're forming that are hopefully not that close to us. Sometimes they are, and that can bring an uncomfortableness with it. But, you know, that idea that we're all like super confident, and also often when you're seeing actors talk from the outside world, it's on like talk shows or whatever, where you are trying to be this best version of yourself, and you're really doing your most sort of showmanship kind of performance. But the reality is we're all riddled with anxiety and self-doubt. So definitely that first initial viewing of anything, you can't enjoy it. You can't, you're just going, yeah.
I have to say with you, you started off as a model, very famous, all over the place. Billboard, you could not escape yourself, probably. Driving down a street, you're probably on a billboard or something.
Yep, there's a bit of that.
And then, of course, 50 Shades of Grey took you to another level of celebrity as well, where people are talking about you and everything. What's that like? What's that level of fame like? And how does that affect you as an actor?
I think you just try to turn it off. Close yourself off to it as best you can. And I think where I come from, and in all of Ireland, we are not good at self-praise, self-promotion. There's a lot of sayings in Ireland like, don't lose the run of yourself, don't be getting ahead of yourself. They don't like to see it back home. They don't want to see someone succeeding and being very pleased with the fact they've succeeded. It doesn't go down well. Trust me, it doesn't go down well. There's a strong sense of that. That's just a known thing amongst people from the island. And we will turn our backs on people who are very pleased with their own successes. So I'm very mindful of that. And I think that made me, try to not embrace it in a big way, be grateful for all that and whatever that attention is, but not play up to it. And not, I was never on social media in those years that all that was happening. I feel very fortunate that when the proper sort of attention came off the back of 50 Shades, probably from the casting announcement onwards, I became a father 3 days before we started shooting the first movie. And we've had 3 kids in that period of time. So this whole other massive shift was happening in my life that was taking over all my energy. Wow. And, I was becoming a dad, and we were starting this family. We've now got 3 girls. And that was running parallel with also this like sort of notoriety thing through my work. But I was only focused on the important stuff, the family part of it. So actually, in a way, sort of hunkering down with the family and trying to be there and be the best husband and father I could be meant that, I wasn't like moving the family all out to LA and going to all these parties and, trying to meet a Kardashian, which is a whole other way you could have gone,
Yeah, totally.
And I'm also pleased that all happened to me in my 30s rather than my 20s, where I think it would have been harder to navigate whatever that is. I feel like I had my wits about me a wee bit more, and I was married and settled and we were having kids, so I was more grounded in my private life to deal with all the craziness that was happening with that, I think.
Yeah, and now you're becoming, I've told you this before, but it's like every movie lately, there's some kind of musical number you're involved in. Yeah. From Wild Mountain Thyme, which is a wonderful movie and a great comic performance by you, by the way.
Thank you.
And then Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar. You just go for it with your number, and you got a lot of praise for that from critics.
Yeah, I think he had to go for it for that one particularly. There's no holding back on Edgar's prayer. It was such a heightened and somewhat ridiculous moment in this pretty heightened and ridiculous film that luckily a lot of people loved and I loved, and what an experience that was working with those girls. It was incredible. But yeah, it's a funny thing, Pete. It's like, I always say, like, I can sing a bit. A lot of actors can sing a bit. It's a thing. If you find yourself performing for a living, chances are you can kind of do a bit of everything. There's a reason why you see most like, particularly actors, male actors rather than female actresses that. Usually if you see them checking in for a flight, they've got a guitar case. There's a dreaded like, oh God,
right,
what this guy's going to be knocking out bringing the guitar out round at one of the whoever's temporary flat they're in when they're shooting apartment they're in when they're shooting. That is just a thing, you know. A lot of actors I think are quite musical. So I've always been able to sing a bit, and then it somehow just crept into the work a little bit. You know, the cat got out of the bag a bit, and I don't know how to get it back in the bag, but I'll
Not
try.
now. It's out.
Well,
it's
maybe,
there. You know.
Yeah, I'll see.
And it's fun too.
It is fun, and it's a different muscle. It's a different thing to exercise and to play with, and you know. I wouldn't ever want to, and nor do I think I have the voice or the talent or anything, but I wouldn't want to then just now go off and only do things that I sing in or musicals or anything. It doesn't really have a great, I'm not saying I wouldn't do one, but I wouldn't want to, you know, that be my thing, I don't think. I care too much about doing the quieter stuff as well, you know, so, but look, it's a nice element of it to get to do that sometimes, you know.
It's so great. You know, you were, before we go, I just want to mention what you feel about this. The Irish Times rated you the number 32 on the list of Ireland's greatest actors of all time. And you're young. So you're 32 already. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You know.
I've never heard that stat. I'll take that. I'll take that.
That's all time. That's every actor that's ever come from Ireland.
Wow. That's amazing. Who was one? Liam Neeson?
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
Let's just give it to him anyway. Should it be? It would be probably be him. No, that was probably Saoirse. I'd imagine it's Saoirse. Or she's certainly up there. Yeah, look, that's cool. And, you know, I think an important thing for me, being from that island, is I've been lucky enough so far, as you say, with The Fall and a couple other things, and Wild Mountain Thyme and this, and with Belfast, to play characters from Ireland. I really want to make sure that is something that's consistent throughout my career. I would never want to move away too far from, you know, of course I've played loads of American characters too, and different parts of England and Czech. I've done quite a lot in the last, you know, 10 years or whatever, but I will always want to play characters from Ireland. It means too much to me. So, you know, hopefully if I keep doing that, maybe I'll work my way up into the 20s of that list.
We'll wait for that. I think you will. Jamie Dornan, thanks so much for joining us on The Actors.
Thanks, Pete. Cheers, man.